many hours with Chuck and Dave and Sean on the phone. And so some big kind of high picture, 30,000 foot view of things, right? So when Buckeye came to us and said, hey, we want a composite, I said, well, a composite's a PDF. And one of the things is they wanted more of an interactive type dashboard, that's very common, but also being able to drill down. And again, that's going to start with the data structure from the DMS, right? As Chuck stated, there's 5, 6, 7 DMSs that all of you guys use predominantly in this group. We currently work with 3 different DMSs right now. So it's not just an Automaster, plan. I'm going to take off my Automaster hat as a DMS and just talk about AMS analytics. The second thing is, the more we get the data, the better the drill downs and the transactions are, right? So if your DMS is only going to give a once a month data push, kind of like your manual input that you guys are doing today probably, then you're not going to get nearly the detail that you're going to like or want, right? So one of the big things is getting that data automated on a nightly basis or even weekly at the minimum, but just a once a month data push is still just going to get you totals. It's not going to get you transaction level, okay? Like Alan said, we've been doing this for a long time with the Automaster clients. So I'm going to get right into it and go through the live demo with you guys. So as you log in, you'll be able to go into at every operation. So whether you have 1 lot or 9 lots within your organization, that's all going to be one login for you guys, okay? In each organization. Now, when you log in, you'll see the home page. There's different options and views and stuff like that. I'm doing the grid view, they call it, which is more picture-oriented. And so you've got the different favorites here. You've got recent dashboards and then recommendations. Don't look too hard at the numbers. We care more about the format in this presentation, right? So when you go through the KPIs, so this will be a daily snapshot of your business every single day, right? So you've got your different business entities, departments within the company, applications, sales, originations, etc. So how we broke out this format is in the number of apps, we've got all of your daily information, month-to-date information, and then year-to-date information, okay? So number of apps, percentages approved, number of apps funded, and then you get into sales, etc. I'm not going to go through every single field, obviously, with everyone today. But I wanted to show you guys and showcase the format of this, right? So this is a daily, every day that's either in your email or you can log into the portal every single day and see that snapshot, okay? One of the other nice things about the dashboards is they're as-of dates. So if you're on vacation and you don't get to it for 2 days and you want to see end of month, right now with a lot of DMSs, you got to have someone print out the DMS reports or get a scheduled email or something like that. With this dashboard, we're getting that data every single night, okay? So if you don't run it on the 31st of the month and it's now the 3rd, you can go back to the 31st and run those reports as of the 31st, okay? And that's if we get that data every day, right? So part of the data warehouse side is keeping that data, your entire data set, every single day in the cloud. So that's huge. I had a dealer ask me last night about security, and actually I think one of the gentlemen that I was sitting next to, we do not store customer data. We're not doing any PII information in this dashboard. These are numbers, these are loan data, car details, stuff like that. I don't want to know that it was, Susie Q, and here's her social security number, here's her date of birth. This is for deal structure, number of sales, number of applications, underwriting, portfolio analysis, etc. Okay? If you go into the collection side, you've got daily, month-to-date, year-to-date. So that's where all this rolls through. Repossessions, losses, obviously on your charge-off side. Portfolio, again, number of active loans, how many dollars that you have, and again, how your breakdowns of your balances are, right? Late fee balances, NSF balances, those types of things. Inventory, and then obviously if you have RFC transfers. So that's kind of the daily KPI. Again, you can run that on demand. You can get it to a daily email, so that way you guys can see it in your email. You don't have to log in, or if you're traveling, you get it right on your phone. The structure of this is going to be what we pull in, and then a submission form. Okay, you're going to want to review those numbers. Bill, we talked earlier, you've got different portfolios in your business, right? You've got a service loan and your car lots. Well, you might not want the service portfolio in your 20 group report. I don't know if you do or not, but that's one of those things that are going to be very detailed, right? So the big thing is we wanted to format it into a visual format with the numbers, submit the numbers, and then that's what's going to go into the actual live data set for the actual composite numbers and what that month close in is, okay? So again, we've been working with Chuck and David, what, about 6 weeks, David? On the input sheets, and I know you guys are going to go over that in the next meeting to go over that, but the biggest thing is you guys have those number inputs, and I'm pulling that data out of the DMS. Okay? So if you look through here, this is just the sales KPIs. You got buy here, pay here, cash and outside finance, wholesale, inventory adjustments, net charge-offs, etc. But again, I want to see those trends. So if I can see what my input numbers were for last month, the last 2 months, the last 3 months, does that line up to how I view my business, right? So you're going to be able to see that sales price, and then also with all of our visual representations, we always have the numbers behind the scenes as well, right? So I don't just want to show you guys pretty graphs and charts. I want to give you the actual meat and potatoes of things, of the actual dollars and numbers. Inventory. So again, we've got the KPI input sheet on the inventory side, so total number of units. Again, the aging breakdowns, different statuses. Again, depending on what DMS you guys have, sold and unsold, obviously recon, available for sale, those types of things. Those are all going to be things that matter to each one of you individually, right? And how you use your DMS to get that data into that composite. Aging is the next one. So again, we've got the aging portfolio, again, for the buy here, pay here dealers in the room and the finance companies, your different aging buckets, and then again, that graphic chart that you can see those trends of your 30s, 60s, 90s, and so forth. Recency, again, you guys have all been in a 20 group before, most of you. So a lot of those are going to be consistent. Charge-offs. So again, you see that information there. Now, let's talk about things that we're probably not going to be able to pull from the DMS, right? So some of the big things are going to be things like your payroll. I think Chuck said earlier in the last show, number of employees. Number of locations we should have in the DMS, that's typical because you're printing forms out, so we should have that, but number of employees, what your payroll is, what your rent is, all those kinds of things, your hard, fixed, semi, and fixed costs, okay? There are some DMSs that can pull that information in, there's some that can't, right? So everyone's gonna be a little bit different. I was talking to a dealer last night at the cocktail reception, he's like, if all I had to worry about was the fixed expenses and semi-fixed expenses, count me in. Because all my time is spent on aging and the sale breakdowns and the recency numbers and those types of things. So if we can solve 80% of the problem, maybe we won't get to 100, probably never get to 100, but if I can trim all that down, that saves hours and hours and hours of your time, okay? So that's kind of the KPI and the KPI input sheet. So we're going to be working with Buckeye over the next 3 months to create a series of the composite and then more drill downs, okay? Obviously that's why everyone's here this week, is to get that input back from the DPG group and get exactly what you guys want to see. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and show you guys some of the reports that we've done in the past, dashboards, and some of the power of the tool. So that way you guys can kind of get some ideas on the information. So the first is, we talk about inventory. We've kind of laid these out by groups. I don't know about how many dashboards have we created, about 100, 140?
At least.
Yeah, I mean, and those are the generic ones, right? Then we have a lot of custom ones that are built. But when you get into the dashboard, so this is an inventory dashboard, for instance, okay? Again, you'll be able to see the trends. So this is a month over month. You'll see all the data down here on the bottom. You have a lot of availability to filter, right? So this filter gives you by locations, by vehicles, by inventory metrics, those types of things. Now, one of the nice things about the tool is that dashboard is going to automatically refresh when you go into it. If you guys are on different DMS systems, think of stored reports or something like that that you may have, where you're saving those filters, right? Location to sale filters, inventory filters, statuses, inventory days, those types of things. So this is all going to be dynamic to the data feed, right? So if you guys tomorrow start selling scooters and you're buying or paying scooters, that's going to fall into the data as a new inventory type, okay? So you guys are going to have to manage a lot of that. Now, if you dramatically change business plans, for instance, you start doing leasing tomorrow, right? Well, that's going to dramatically change on the actual composite, okay? So there are things that are going to be adaptive with the actual data, but there's also going to be things that are just more macro level, that you have to say, okay, I have a different business model now, we need to reissue what we're doing with the reports and the dashboards. So we've got the ability to drill down into a specific month or a combination of months. We also have the ability to filter out the different pieces on different statuses. So if I want to choose just AV, which is available for sale, and again, sorry, I'm running off my hotspot, so it's a little bit slow. It'll start changing the dashboards in real time. Through in the dashboard is the applications by activity date. So this is going to obviously look at your application side. So it's looking at your raw numbers of the information from your apps. And again, it's going to go through those pieces. So again, applications looking at month over month. And so you can see all those numbers that are associated, number of deals denied, approved, etc. You also have the ability to filter on and off as far as holding different month over months for over years. So in this case, I'm doing January, and I can highlight and track multiple clicks for year over year. So it gives me the ability to look at it last 3 years, last 4 years, for just the month of January. Okay? So a lot of interactive. The whole premise of this tool is it's not just to export a PDF data or Excel data, right? It's interactive, it becomes part of your daily process, and you should be using it every day to run your business as well. Sales by date. So this is going to go through your sales numbers, again, slice and dice the data, right? By location, by sales rep, by car type. Sorry. So this goes through all those pieces here that you have. Okay? So again, all these filters are very dynamic. Again, that you have information there, loan information, by sales year, by month. You can specify a specific date range. So you get very, very detailed into exactly what you're looking for your data.
And you can set the time up at the top right. Down, there you go.
Okay.
So
Yeah, so these are just different, what do they call them, pills? Different pills that you can go through, so you can select by date, by long, bar charts or line charts. So again, once you get that data in there, we can get very detailed on the different formats of the information.
And the goal of this is for all the DMS we talked about to submit daily data into this system, and then regardless of AMS or Automaster, whoever you're with, that's the premise of this entire.
Correct. This is a Buckeye problem, right? So the DPG, whatever DMS that you're using, we're going to feed that data in. So as well is different information. So you can have 60 days, 30 days, 29 days, etc. Again, how Buckeye is going to have that aging bucket, because NIADA has different aging buckets than NCM, right? It's just how they created their 20 groups. So Buckeye is going to set that parameter so that everybody's on the same game frame. Okay? So again, you can look at that information with locations, loan details, all that kind of good stuff. Dashboards are typically about 300 to 400 data points for each individual dashboard. Okay? So one of the things about loading the data is it's not the 15 pieces of items that you see. All those filter points are data points. All those charts and graphs are data points. But we also give you the information so that you can highlight and export that data out on a detailed basis. So what this allows you to do is you can view the data. So let's say I'm looking at a specific sales rep, they had a great month, but I want to see exactly what deals that they sold and what the structure of them were, okay? So this gives you the ability to go into here, view that data, and that's going to take a data export of the actual information. So now we've got different things with repos, portfolios, so I'm going to go through a couple of those. When we get into repos by date, so again, how you guys deem a repo in your DMS, every DMS has its own little, naming closure of it. AutoStar had OFR for out for repo, Automaster has pending repo. A lot of people use that same thing. Some people say out for repo or pending repo, etc. We have flags. Some DMSs have flags, some have tags, some have both. So there's a lot of that different information on the DMS side. So those are the big things that we have with the data side of how do we translate that DMS data into that dashboard to keep it all consistent. So you got your repo data here, so you got your total numbers of repos, again by location, by loan criteria. So if you wanted to drill down, again by sales rep, by dealer name, customer postal code or zip code, etc. Those are all pieces that you can go through and drill down accordingly. I don't know how many Arizona deals we have in the demo, but so that will go through and start refreshing all that. Yeah, this one. I wanted to, it's chat, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so one of the things you said earlier about that whole static pool.
Yeah.
So that piqued my interest, obviously. So one of the things about static pool is your loss curves. So one of the big things with static pool, like Chuck said earlier, it's really 4 numbers. Right? Static pool is not rocket science, but it's a lot of data. The other thing is you have a lot of data, but you got to also put it into a visual representation for that bell curve, right? So those are the big pieces that our AMS Analytics is going to do for you. Now this is looking at 5 years worth of data, so it's going back. So there's a couple big things on a static pool, just specific to a static pool standpoint. Obviously the month of origination, how long it's been on the books, the charge-off date, and the dollars, right? So those are the biggest things that you have on a static pool. So the way that this is laid out is your charge-off losses. So these are going to be the percentages as far as your percentage of your portfolio, okay? And then you have the number of charge-offs that are going down the left, and then to the right is the number of months on the book, right? So in this case, you'll notice, and again, I'm sure most dealers have seen this, 6, 9 months, 12 months, 18 months kind of thing. You've got a higher charge-off in that first year or two, and then as the loan progresses and pays out, that should taper off, right? So this gives you that criteria that you can go directly into and see, but then you also have your bell curve, right? So you can see all that information, and if I highlight over that, you'll be able to see the numbers behind the scenes as well. Okay? Now, the other big thing that we have in place here is, I'm logged in as one dealer, okay? My organization. What if we can take everybody's data and do that static pool across the board, right? And so now we have that data warehouse to where we have all that data in one place, and we can put, NIADA benchmarks, Ken Schultz and Subprime Analytics, all those pieces into place. You've got a serious amount of data, which is very, very valuable. Very valuable. Okay?
I learned a lot about this business. Thank you. AMS was one of the few things that was working well in the business that I invested in, and we went from there. And so one of the things I learned as coming into this industry fresh was, my God, the losses are high. That was the first real awakening for me. I had no idea. I'd never seen that before. This guy invited me in. And the other thing I learned was that you got to have a solid cash register, and the thing that was working in our business was AMS. And so we invested, we actually had a hedge fund partner. We spent $2 million in 2 years building an infrastructure to bring data to this industry, because there's just not much data about the deep subprime. A FICO score between 600 and 450 is a coin toss. I mean, it's really not giving you much value. So we wanted to build data to actually predict losses based on the customer that presents. And what we learned was, you got to build your own. The best place you're going to get that data is your own. So we built an infrastructure to collect all that, to analyze that. We built a couple of scorecards. We sold the portfolio in 2017. And I went to Mike and I said, we pulled the technology out, and I said, we'd like to offer this to AMS and to the industry. Sort of what I call the NetJets approach, which is, a lot of companies don't have a hedge fund backing, can't spend that kind of time and money to build a structure to gather and analyze data. So let's do it as a software as a service. We've spent a number of years doing that, 5 now. And I asked my team this morning what the key metrics for our group is. I like to call it the 400 group. So we have almost $25 billion worth of assets from the last 5 years for loans. 1.5 million units sold. We have active AR of 2.6 billion in our portfolio. We have about 1.5 million payment transactions per year over the last 3 years. About $300 million worth of collections. And so we're finally at that point where we have the data to start making intelligent statements about the business. And that's really what we're after. What you're going to see is what Mike has he's led the way and built a lot of things, and we've gotten into supporting that kind of activity. This is really the heartbeat of the business. This is what we're all about, is to help you have better performance on your loans. And quite frankly, even if you're just a dealership, you're through the door population, things like that. You're selling to somebody, or maybe you have a related finance company, or whatever the case may be. Somebody is taking that bond. So it's really important to understand this.
Inputs are inputs. And our goal is not to give you more of the same, unless more of the same is in its perfect format, which we all know it's not. But the inputs, they are what they are. It's what you do with that input data. The output is the primary focus of the committee we put together to work on this. But the inputs, if it's in your DMS, it's available.
But that the beauty of this is that, a 20 group member is looking at the questions different or trying to get the right data, so that's what makes it consistent. Yeah.
Well, how many of you have been in a meeting and you look at somebody's numbers and you're like, no way.
Right.
No way. It's either way off the page too good or way off the page the other way, and it's just, we've all been there. No way. The goal is to make that go away. You can still fill with expenses. If you don't post things, I can't do anything about that, but that's intentional.
I want the data so I can export to Excel and create all these pivot tables and charts because I like Excel and I know Excel, right? I'm removing the need for Excel, okay? If you don't have to dump all your stuff out to Excel to get your answer, but if you can use the tool to see that visually as the answer, why do you need the data in Excel, right? Because you're going to call me and say, hey, we still need down payment as a filter. Well, I'm sure you're not the only one who wanted down payment as a filter, right? So we could add that to that tool. You still have every right to export the data out to Excel. But if it's something that you're doing every single month or every single day, how long does that take?
It might as well get the system and then...
Right, exactly. It's just like the composite, right? If you're spending, I talked to one client, they're in Memphis, and he told me it was 14 hours to do his monthly composite. 14 hours. That's a lot of time. And you don't have a $12.50 an hour employee doing your composite. It's a controller, it's, that's a lot of money, right? So those are the things that I'll correlate between that.
Do you guys have for CRR?
Yeah, we've got, that's the reverse of LTL. Yeah.